Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Forward Gettysburg. As always, I'm your host, Aaron Smith, and you might be wondering, what am I doing stacked behind these breastworks filled with books? Well, we are talking about Gettysburg books today, my friends. Which ones are good, which ones you should avoid, which ones are excellent. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, books about Gettysburg can really be organized into three different categories. We have what I like to call micro-histories, which might focus on a certain aspect of the battle or a certain regiment or a certain brigade or a certain action, but it's not an overall picture of the battle. It just focuses on one important, distinctual, unique part of the battle. The second category of books about the Gettysburg battle we might want to call macro histories or encompassing histories. These books are going to cover every single thing about the battle, who was there, what happened, the whole 9 yards. And then the third category I'm going to call potpourri miscellaneous. These might be map books, these might be guidebooks, these might be little quiz books, stuff like that. Stuff that are great to have at the battlefield actually with you, but don't have enough volume or length, or your purpose might not be like an actual narrative of the battle. It might just be an explanation of what happened. So I'm going to somewhat quickly make my way through these stacks. They're all important, so I want to spend time with each one, but for the sake of not going into like a 2-hour video talking about each book, I'll probably give a quick little review, a yay or nay, and we'll move on from there. So, first off, we have our micro-history books. Like I said, these are going to cover a specific aspect of the battle, part of the battlefield, might be following a regiment or a brigade through that battle. So, first one up, I have Plenty of Blame to Go Around. Jeb Stuart's Controversial Ride to Gettysburg by J. Wittenberg and J. David Petruzzi. I like this book. This is one of those Civil War what-if questions that everyone loves to ask. What if Jeb Stuart and the cavalry were at Gettysburg? What if they had been reporting to Lee like they were supposed to? Yada, yada, yada. This book does a great job of describing why Stuart was where he was and the actions that followed his ride to Gettysburg. A great part about this book is the last, there's a section in here near the back that actually takes you on a road trip. Yeah, Appendix D, a driving tour of Stuart's ride. And so, being a local person from the area, I love this kind of stuff. So this is a great book to pick up just for that little driving tour. I mean, it stops at places like Westminster, Hanover, all those cool places. So definitely check this out if you're interested in Jeb Stuart and the cavalry and maybe why he wasn't there at Gettysburg. So a lot of these micro-histories are going to be books or topics that you have to be really interested in to be able to seek and find a book that is about that specific topic. The great thing about the Battle of Gettysburg and books about Gettysburg is that thousands of books have been written about every single topic. So if you're interested in something, you can certainly find something out there. This book itself is not actually about the battle, but nonetheless, Earl Hess's great book, Civil War Infantry Tactics, this makes me understand and appreciate the maneuvering and all the tiny details that goes into being out on the field and having to maneuver under fire and maintain the regimental organization and stabilization. So this was really cool. It can be a little dry at times, especially when they're going into the history. It's neat nonetheless, but it gets a little dry. Like these were developed from European tactics and this is how they did that and that and that. But it's very thorough in the background information it supplies. So if Civil War infantry tactics are something that you want to learn more about, check out Earl Hess's book. All right, so the next two, the Fawns. Of course, Fawns, Gettysburg, the Second Day, and Gettysburg, Culp's Hill, and Cemetery Hill. These books are amazing. If you have any interest in the Battle of Gettysburg whatsoever, please pick them up. Well worth the money. Excellent books, excellent detail. I've been obsessed with this one lately, and I have it doggy marked all over the place, just because there's so much good info in there that I want to go back and reference and read again and examine a little bit more. So these books are both great. The only gripe I could possibly have about the Fawns' books is, especially in the Cemetery Hill book, as awesome a book as it is and how descriptive it is, the maps are god awful. I hate to say it, the maps are god awful. They try to do these 2-page maps, and the spacing on the page comes out super awkward, and a lot of times the map ends up getting split between 2 pages, and you're just sitting there, you're like, what? Like here, for example, you see what I mean. This whole spot here is just totally cut off, huge blank page. I would have rather just had a smaller map, shrunken onto one page and maybe another page of text, or a zoom in of that map, of maybe something important that this map's trying to convey. But they're not totally illegible, but just a minor gripe I have. Otherwise, the Fawns' series, he also has a book about the First Day. Any of the Fawns' books are great to pick up. They're a little bit longer reads, but they are chock full of detail. Next book I have, next micro history, is Civil War Artillery at Gettysburg, Organization, Equipment, Ammunition, and Tactics by Philip M. Cole. I actually really enjoyed this book. It was a wild card for me. I was checking out For the Historian on York Street there in town, and I was just kind of flipping through the books, and it just kind of caught me. I like the illustrations in it. They're pretty detailed. They're black and white, but they're still really cool, especially when it goes into like the different types of shells. They talk, they have some really great examples of like canister, like how it looked. So I think it's a really cool book. Talks all about how the artillery is organized, the artillery, the things they went through leading up to the battle. So it's a really cool book. I learned a lot. I still reference this book quite a bit. So really great book. Definitely worth the pickup. I think I might have got it for $20 or $25. So for just kind of taking a wild card dice roll on something, I was really pleased. So be sure to check out this book if you have any interest in the artillery whatsoever. Alright, so next book is more of a local history, especially about York County, The Dogs of War in Our Midst, Civil War Perspectives from York County, PA. What got me into this book and York County and war is one, that's where I grew up at, where I called home for quite some time, and also, things like the surrender of York and how it impacted the people, and especially, Early's march up to the north as well, toward Harrisburg. It was really interesting to read how this affected people, what the city of York was like at the time, what the county was like, huge hotbed of Copperhead activity. These authors have co-written a few books together. This is the only book that I have of them so far, but I know Scott Mingus puts out a Civil War newsletter, blog type thing over on the York Daily Record website. It's called like cannonballblog.com or something along those lines. But he puts out a lot of really interesting stuff if you're local, or if you want to learn more about Adams County's eastern neighbor, York County. and their efforts during the war. Learned a lot. Definitely, you know, for, I don't know, I think I might have paid 15, 20. I was actually pretty impressed, especially given it's, you know, not as huge as maybe a Fawns book at the same price. But nonetheless, good pickup. Definitely check out Mingus and McClure stuff. Alright, so this next book I have been absolutely obsessed with for the past week and a half that I got it. Maine Roads to Gettysburg, awesome title, awesome book. I knew that Maine, you know, obviously we have like the 20th Maine on Little Round Top, and you know the 16th Maine and the 17th Maine, and a lot of these great Maine units, but I had no idea how many prolific people were from Maine that fought at the Battle of Gettysburg. So this book has been great. The author, Tom Huntington, actually what got me into this book is he was on an episode of Addressing Gettysburg and talking about this book, and it sounded really interesting. And man, did he sell his book well, because as soon as I picked it up, like, I was sucked into it. Awesome book. Maps are pretty decent. Lots of great photographs. Almost every single person that he talks about have you know, an awesome photograph of them. There's the back of the book jacket. You see some great photographs there. But you know, definitely worth checking out. Maine Roads to Gettysburg. Like there, like I like that map. It's pretty basic. You know right where you're at, but it still tells you the detail down to the brigade level at least. So pretty good, pretty good. But he did a lot of research into this book and found a lot of memoirs and stuff, went to all kinds of historical societies in Massachusetts and Maine and Pennsylvania and all over the East Coast to scrounge up these memoirs. And so some of the quotes from the people that were actually there, that's really, really awesome, and it's definitely shedding a new light, not only on the Battle of Gettysburg for me, but also how the state of Maine, a state that we don't always think about a whole lot, impacted and affected the battle. Alright, so the next books we're going to talk about are the macro histories of the Battle of Gettysburg. That is the books whose contents cover the entire fighting, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, the aftermath, the build-up to the battle. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up, you might have read the jacket, The Last Full Measure. Aaron, that's not a book about Gettysburg. Yeah, you caught me. I'm lending out my copy of The Killer Angels to a family member. So let's pretend this is The Killer Angels, okay? The Killer Angels is one of the most popular forms of Civil War media out there. The Killer Angels has gotten countless people passionate about and interested in the Civil War and preservation and reenacting and living history and battlefield guiding and all kinds of stuff. That effect was magnified when the movie Gettysburg came out, based on the book. So that was just like a runaway success, and just the Civil War and Gettysburg blew up in the mid to late 90s. The Killer Angels, which this is not, but pretend it is, again please, I appreciate your imagination. The Killer Angels, while based in history, is historical fiction. I have a couple gripes with the Killer Angels and Gettysburg. One of them being that they make Robert E. Lee look like an inactive general who was just accepting things as they came his way, and they just always kept saying, oh, well, it's in God's hands now. Like, that really bothered me. Yes, Robert E. Lee was an incredibly devout religious man, but he also, excuse me, he also was a great general and, you know, made things happen on the battlefield. So that was one gripe that I had. Also, of course, the 20th Maine, you know, I'm kind of on the fence that Oates started to retreat slightly before Chamberlain ordered the bayonet charge, but of course we know in the book and the movie they make it look like it was all Chamberlain's idea, and everybody else ran as a result of that. You know, I realized that as an author he had to latch on to certain historical figures and write a historical fiction book that would attract the reader's attention. And the book as a piece of writing itself is magnificent. If you're just looking for You know, a quick, easy read and something that's not super, super in depth, but tells a story while, you know, using actual historical quotes that, you know, those people said. Like, you know, check it out by all means. If you're looking for a piece of minute by minute historical guide to the battle, there are much better books out there. Again, it's a piece of historical fiction. You know, like they put the 20th Maine where Pickett's charge happened, and on July 3rd they were chilling up on Big Round Top. So it's just one of those things that, you know, they Hollywood and writing, they, you know, change just a little bit of history to make it fit into their narrative. But if that's something you're into, check out Killer Angels. I've gone on too long about it. The ORs, the official reports, the Ten Commandments themselves, if you will. If you're looking for a quick, easy read about the Battle of Gettysburg that is well organized and is all-encompassing of the battle, do not go to the official reports. You will be lost in a hurry. This is not a narrative by any means. This is not going to tell you a story. I look at it as a research tool, and you have to find the stories and the action and the history within them. I love checking the official reports. This is volume 27. This is this is part 2, reports. And these are the Confederate reports. And this is some amazing reading. I highly, if you're interested to hear the words of the commanders and colonels and people in command themselves, how it happened, maybe some of it's embellished and they've omitted things, stuff like that. Check this out. It's really interesting as a research tool. And if you want to get more of just a surface level understanding of the battle, if you just want to know, all right, day 2 Longstreet attacks and then early attacks, you know, cool. But if you want to get a little bit deeper, you got to check out the official reports. Next one up. If that was the 10 Commandments, this is the Old Testament. Of course, Edwin Cottington's The Gettysburg Campaign. This book is by far the most detailed book about any part of history I've ever read. This book goes into so much depth about stuff that you didn't even think of, you didn't even know about. I love this book. This is always a go-to. I will give you a warning. It is a little on the drier side. Yes, he does involve a lot of funny stories and stuff, but it definitely tends to get on the drier side. And this can be a mentally draining book to read, and I mean that in the best way, because the way that Cottington writes, like every single little thing that he says has meaning toward the general overall story. So it's definitely something that you just can't, you know, scan a couple paragraphs and skip ahead to the good stuff, because you're going to miss out on a lot of details and a lot of things that make you go, I didn't know that. So definitely check out Cottington. This book is available at any bookstore, visitor center, anywhere you can imagine that sells Gettysburg books. So definitely check it out. Definitely worth a read. Alright, so the big 3 macro histories that I would consider the big 3 macro histories about the Battle of Gettysburg are these 3 right here. We have Allen Guenzo's Gettysburg: The Last Invasion, Gettysburg: A Testing of Courage by Noah Trudeau, and of course Stephen Sears' Gettysburg. Wow, I had that nicely balanced too. These books, all 3 of them are great. All 3 of them have their own strengths. All 3 of them have their own weaknesses. So, of the, I guess, the number 3rd rank, I don't know, I wasn't doing rankings to begin with, but whatever. The number 3rd rank, I'm going with Guelzo's book. This was a good book. It was a fast read. It breezed over a lot of things, didn't go into nearly the amount of depth that Coddington goes into, but that's okay. It was a good read. It was an entertaining read. I really like the way that Gelzo described the wheat field. After reading that chapter, the wheat field just really started to click for me. So the way he described the wheat field was really great. And again, it's hard to rank these three because all three of them are excellent. And if you are wanting to know more about the Battle of Gettysburg or passionate about the battle, definitely pick up all three. Like, I'm not going to tell you, oh, you only need to read this one over that one. But of these three, I think Gelzo is probably going to be ranked toward the bottom. Next one, Testing of Courage by Noah Trudeau. Great book. Very well written. Probably tells a story more followable in a way. Really unique way of writing. Really good book. It's hard to say anything bad about Trudeau. It's a great book. It's considered one of the best macro histories about the Battle of Gettysburg since it came out in, I want to say, like the early 2000s. But really good book. Definitely worth picking up. I got this book used actually through Amazon, and I want to say I might have paid like $9 for it. But again, another one of those books that's available wherever Gettysburg books are sold, so definitely check it out. So my favorite macro history for the Battle of Gettysburg is going to be Stephen Sears' Gettysburg, for a couple of reasons. I really like the way it's written. Stephen Sears has two other great books out about Chancellorsville and Antietam, which are high on my list for next books to get, because I love this book, so I know I'm going to love those two, and those are both two battles. I've been to the battlefields there, so anytime I've been there, I like to read more about the place I've been and understand what happened. But I just like Sears. He writes really, really well. The way he describes Pickett's charge is probably... I always hesitate to say this because next time I'm going to read about Pickett's charge, I might like it differently. But the way he writes about Pickett's charge is probably the best out of any book about Gettysburg I've ever read. The way he combines this very poetic prose almost in how he writes with the action that's happening and the detail and the historic detail that he includes and the maps, and he's going down to, he's describing at the regimental level how they're struggling to make this oblique maneuver near the Emmitsburg Road. So this is a great book to check out. Of these three micro histories, this is probably the one that I will recommend the most to you. Check it out, Stephen Sears' Gettysburg. Maps, guides, and miscellaneous. We are down to the last category, my friends. Thank you for sticking with me. First one up is the Guide to Gettysburg Battlefield Monuments, by Tom Huntington. Same guy that wrote Main Roads to Gettysburg. So, we have a repeat here on the best books about Gettysburg, or just books in general about Gettysburg that this video is about. What I love about this book are these great full color photos. The maps can be a little confusing, and I think that, if they maybe had a map and then a couple monuments on a page, and the next page another map and more monuments, it might have been able to understand it a little bit better, or maybe it would have just been a little bit more convenient, because as it stands right now, I've got to go check out, what is monument 663, and now I got to go flipping through here, find monument 663, so you get what I'm saying. So could have been put together a little bit easier, maybe a little organized a little bit better, but nonetheless, the photos are great. Any kind of monument you want to know about, it covers, over 800, so definitely worth picking up. Alright, so next to the Gettysburg Campaign Study Guide. So unless you are a hardcore Gettysburg buff and you want to test your knowledge, or if you are an aspiring battlefield guide, like I like to consider myself, these are okay books to pick up. Like if you, alright, so the way it's organized is one side has questions, the other side has answers. So if you want to take a piece of paper and block it up and ask yourself and quiz yourself, you know, this is a pretty good way to do it. I don't know, it's kind of one of those buy at your own peril kind of books, because the author himself, even though it says study guide for the Gettysburg Licensed Battlefield Guide Exam, even though that is the subtitle of the book, the author himself has not passed the Gettysburg Licensed Battlefield Guide Exam. So, pinch of salt. If you're looking for like a cool little, maybe quiz yourself kind of thing, this would be alright to pick up. There's probably some better ones out there, but I'm kind of a meh on the fence. I can't tell you one way or another. If it's something you're interested in, check it out. If not, you could probably pass it and be alright. Alright, next one. A Field Guide to Gettysburg, 2nd edition by Carol Reardon and Tom Bossler. This is actually a really great book, and I don't go to the battlefield without it. Great full pictures, maps are easy to follow. It takes you on its own little guided tour. I don't normally follow the guided part. You know, if I decide that, oh, well, I'm interested in Devil's Den today, I can just flip to the section on Devil's Den and check it out and learn all about it and take the little tour guide section that's about Devil's Den. So, the tour itself is hodgepodge all over the place. You know, for example, like, this is the tour map. Stop 1 is next to stop, 28 and 37. So it kind of takes you all over the place on the battlefield. But as just an explanation for what happened, if you want to give yourself a little self-guided tour, this is great. Like I said, I always take it with me to the battlefield. It's something that is always with me. Definitely check it out. I know for sure this is available at the gift shop at the Visitor Center. I'm sure it's available where other great books are sold, but definitely worth adding to your collection. Alright, the last one, the granddaddy of the guides. If you could only buy one guidebook about the Battle of Gettysburg, the Phil Lano map book, which is this beast right here, is the one to get. This is by far the best, most detailed book concerning Gettysburg battlefield maps that has ever been printed. Get the revised edition. Go pick it up today. If you don't have it in your library, then you've been missing out. I mean, the detail that this thing goes into is incredible, down to the brigade level. Half a page of a map or 2 maps, another half a page detailing what the map is about. I mean, I can't tell you guys. I mean, shows you where the forest. Look at that. It speaks for itself. Black and white map, but who cares? It's so detailed. This is a great map to have. I mean, Pickett's Charge, 100%. Pick up the Phil Lano map book. I will tell you right now, this is expensive. I would hesitate to tell you to buy this book used, because if it's used like I've used it, it's getting a lot of torture. It might be missing pages. It might have, the spirals missing, yada, yada, yada. So definitely the one book I would suggest buying brand new. It's expensive. It's like a $50 to $55 book, depending on where you get it from. But I think the gift shop at the Visitor Center has it for $55. Honestly, I got it online for $50. But either way, the Gettysburg Campaign Atlas, revised and expanded. 444 maps, people. That's crazy. If you are one of those people that love to go out and get on the battlefield for yourself and figure out what happened there by yourself, this is a must-have book to accompany you on any journey out to the battlefield. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me for this awesome book-filled episode of Forward Gettysburg. As always, I am your host, Aaron Smith. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, checking out the channel. And of course, as always, I will catch you on the next one.